Welcome to Common Ground. My name is Fernandito Oso, your host today, sitting in for Sheriff Steve W. Thompson. Today my guest is Cynthia Orellana. She is the Director of Office of Community Partnerships at the University of Massachusetts, and she's here to talk to us today. Welcome to the show, Cynthia.
Thanks for having me.
It's nice to have you. So tell me a little bit about this, because this is kind of fairly new position that you're in.
Yeah.
But University of Massachusetts, my God, it's huge.
Well, University of Massachusetts, the system is huge. I
Yes.
work for the Boston campus. UMass Boston is an institution that is the only public urban university research institution in the city of Boston, and we have several excellent public institutions across the UMass system, but Boston is the only urban public research university in the city of Boston among all the other private institutions that we have across the city. So it's an interesting opportunity to be at UMass Boston. I think that the Office of Community Partnerships plays a significant role in the work that we do at UMass Boston. UMass Boston is very much an institution that believes that we need to be standing with our city, that we need to be contributing through service, through our research, through our service, our teaching, our learning, our students, our faculty, to the development of the city and contributing really to policy and change across the city. And so my office is really at the center of really supporting the university in creating collaborations and strengthening the connections that already exist, and really being a front door also from external organizations who want to partner and establish long-term relationships with our institution. We have several doctoral, master's, and undergraduate programs, many of which are nationally recognized. We're known for over 50 of our research centers and institutes, and again, a lot of our intellectual resources have gone into really contributing to local issues here in Boston and abroad. So we have about a third of our projects in the city of Boston. They span all different types of organizations that we work with. We work with nonprofit, with corporate, with business, with government agencies. So really we have a full breadth of different work that we do in the city of Boston. That's
amazing. Not to count the years, but back in the days when I was going to UMass, it was just beginning to transform. It was just expanding, and you know, it's so funny that to look back today, how beautiful, you know, they've really done themselves, not only on the outside, but intensively in the inside, and how all the great things that you're doing today are doing.
Yeah.
So that really, in a nutshell, you said it all. I mean, really, I like the fact that you're also reaching out, connecting, and building partnerships. And you guys are really out there, really doing a lot of really groundwork.
Yeah. Yeah, we're very involved, like I said, in a number of different issues across the city. Our students, like I said, are volunteers oftentimes throughout the city, but they're also contributing to cutting-edge research. We have had a history of working on the Boston Harbor cleanup, for example. Our students and researchers were involved in that. Our Center for Women, Politics, and Public Policy recently had in hand with their research and contributing to the recent act that Governor Baker signed related to pay equity. We have one of 3 gerontology institutes in the entire country that's really contributing to local policy development around aging. So we have a lot of stuff going on at UMass Boston. And I think for us at the core, once again, is that we really feel connected to that urban public mission in making sure that what we have to contribute is really advancing our community.
Yeah. And you still have the international attraction.
Absolutely. So for us, community is defined very wide. It's Boston, but it's beyond Boston. I mentioned a third of our projects are in Greater Boston, but we certainly have several different projects and partnerships that involved other parts of the state, other parts of the country, and certainly nationally. And for us, because UMass Boston is over half, or just about half of our own student population is considered minority, or they identify as minority. And we have about 200 or so countries represented in our student population. We're a very global campus, I should say. And because Boston itself is a very diverse community, we have a lot of transnational connection already because of our city. And I think that positions us very well to work globally on a lot of the different issues that we're involved in other countries.
And I think we had some pictures, but at the same time that you're doing all that, you're out in the community as well. You're also doing that. Is it more like more presentations or conferences, or is it partnerships that you're out in the community working with?
So specifically related to my office is very interested in developing multi-dimensional partnerships that are really based on mutually beneficial relationships that really have shared goals and shared vision. That those partnerships are really about understanding what we both bring to the table and are really built around, as I mentioned before, sort of shared vision around how we want to make outcomes come through. And so my office is really out there making connections with community organizations, and again, community is defined very broadly.
Of course.
And trying to figure out and get a pulse for the different issue areas and places where we might have an opportunity to offer our research and our teaching, and like I said, our student population to be part of problem solving. We have a lot of initiatives that come out of the university that are in the community that involve, like I said, volunteering. We have a lot of mentoring and tutoring and that sort of stuff that's happening through Boston Public Schools and a lot of our nonprofit organizations. So there's a lot of levels of activity happening at UMass, but in terms of my office, we're really interested in figuring out how to establish very long-term relationships that are deep and rooted and have high impact.
We'll come back to this, but I wanted to kind of get a little, sort of go back a little bit, because with the expansion and sort of the network base that you have, what were you doing before you came to this? Because you do have a lot of network-based connections in the community, because I've also seen you in the community network, and just about everyone knows you.
Maybe not everybody.
Not everybody yet, but they will now. But yeah, you're very well known in the community. So
yeah, well, I'm local, born and raised in Cambridge, so not quite Boston, and have stayed in Cambridge thanks to a little home that my parents bought in the early 90s. As you know, Cambridge has gone through significant gentrification and change. For the good and the bad in some ways, which is what Boston's experiencing as well. So I'm local. I've stayed in Cambridge for my entire life. I've gone to public school in Cambridge, went to college in Boston, and my master's degree in Boston. So that, I think, has anchored me very much in this community and accounts for a lot of those relationships that you're referring to. But immediately before I came to UMass Boston, I've been in public service for about 9 years. 8 of those years was with the Patrick administration. I spent a significant amount of that time in Governor Patrick's office, leading his civic engagement initiatives, specifically the Commonwealth Corps, which was like a volunteer-based local organization that's modeled after AmeriCorps. And right after that, went over to the Department of Higher Education, which is really the link between, going from there to UMass Boston, and spent there about 5 years doing policy work related to improving college access for low-income, first-generation students of color across the state, and really was focused on building partnerships between local organizations, local public schools, and public institutions of higher ed. So I was doing that across different regions in the state. So that's sort of the entry point into UMass Boston. I moved over to UMass Boston thinking, I've done this statewide. I've supported this sort of networked approach to solving issues in local communities. It'd be interesting to see how you do this inside of a university. And so that's what brought me to UMass Boston. But I've had quite a journey over the years. I've done some campaign work. I've worked on national voter registration projects. I've worked in nonprofit for just a little bit of time. But
was that not as fun?
Well,
that was tough.
No, it's very tough. So it was very short-lived. And I was actually, when I was a co-op student at Northeastern University, that I got my footing at Oiste, which no longer is around. But I was a community organizer with them. Yeah. So it's been quite the journey. I think for me, though it hasn't been quite linear, my underlying connection, I think, through all these jobs has been my own personal mission of making sure that I am a bridge, I'm a connector between community,
the same
absolutely, and the organizations I'm with. Yeah, so
that's awesome. It's great that you brought up that organization. I was very endeared to that organization.
I know. I remember seeing it.
And now I see the connection why they would do some of their gala or events at UMass. I remember. In the last fewer that I can remember of their events was actually in that wing that oversees the ocean or the water.
The campus center, a campus center. And you'll have to come back and visit because there's been a lot of development, I think, since those days, for sure.
Yeah.
We have a new university hall that's to the left of the campus center, which is beautiful, state-of-the-art facility. We also have a new integrated sciences building that was opened right after the campus center. So our newest building is the university hall, but there's a lot of construction at UMass Boston.
Yeah, and I think if I'm not mistaken, there's also the Congress that was it Ted Kennedy left as when he left? Is it there?
Oh, you're referring to the Edward M. Kennedy Institute?
Yeah,
that's like on our campus. Yeah, it's on the peninsula.
Is it the mini Congress session, sort of, so you can get experience what it's like to be?
Yeah, so they're also on the peninsula.
Congress and Senate.
So we have UMass Boston, the Edward M. Kennedy Institute, the Kennedy Library, John F. Kennedy Library, the Massachusetts Archive, and we all share that sort of island space.
Yeah, it's been a while. Wow, it's been a while. I haven't been there.
I have to come by.
I have to come by and see that.
Yeah,
that's great. So now I can see the relationship where all that kind of led you to UMass and wanted to be part of UMass and sharing that. Let's go back a little bit and kind of go into a little bit of your history of life as a whole. Like, who was your role models in growing up and sort of having this vision of where you are today? Because the experiences and the collaboration you've had with, the Patrick administration, Governor Patrick administration, and sort of the grassroots of organizing with Oeste, and just being with many partners in the community and knowing the community that although you are originally, born and raised out of Cambridge, but still, those grassroots. Who were people that were role models in your life? Who were the people that were inspiring you all along? I'm sure there's many, but
yeah.
I mean, just at the forefront,
Yeah. I definitely count my blessings in terms of the incredible human beings that have surrounded my life. For me, my parents have been, I think, my first and foremost biggest inspiration. My parents are immigrants from El Salvador, which is a small country in Central America for those that aren't as familiar. And I'm one of 4 siblings and the last sibling of the 4, and they all were born in El Salvador. So I'm the first born in the United States. So I've seen my parents' journey and my family's journey, being immigrants, having English not be their first language. I think I had a very early understanding as a child about the differences in my family and the community that I was growing up in. And the challenges of being poor and working, in a factory and working service jobs and coming home and table conversations not necessarily being about politics or the book that you read, but about the workday and the day in the factory. So I think that very much shaped me, and I've always looked to my parents as my first inspiration and model around hard work and perseverance, and they definitely pushed me to get my education and make sure that I made something of myself. So they're like my first and foremost, I think, anchors. But like I said, I've certainly had a lot of really wonderful people. I don't think I knew what it meant to have a mentor until I was in college. I had a gentleman named Jose Masso that you know very well.
Yeah, very nice, distinguished gentleman.
Yeah, so who I consider to be almost
You're
like
right,
a second
he talks really
dad.
good about you too. I read about that.
I love him so much, and he's definitely like a second father for me. I didn't realize he was my mentor until he introduced me one time as his mentee, and as the years have gone by, I'm like, wow, he had such a strong role in my formation as a young professional, and definitely opened doors for me. And I think he was my first sense of what it meant to have like a mentor. But definitely have had a lot of amazing people touch my path.
I wanted to ask you, because I know you made it sound so easy, and yet it's because of your bring-ins and the support you had. But for some folks or some students or some folks that are from third countries, sometimes there becomes sort of like we were talking, maybe a language barrier or understanding of a language. But in the learning skills part of coming home and being so anal about learning and sitting down and reading and writing, it seemed like for you it was kind of easygoing. It was something part of you that you found it that and your parents really wanted you to really concentrate and focus. But did you see anybody around your surroundings, like either your siblings or others, that maybe struggled along just wanting to learn, sit down and read a book and writing? Because to you, it's the way it sounds. It sounds like it came a little easier, although it never is.
No,
but
it's
it's something
not at
that
all.
was kind of like really much easier than for some folks. Because for some, it's not as easy as just really. Is that easy? You know, going to
Yeah.
school and really, you know, getting those essays and theses and things. It's not an easy task.
No, it wasn't easy. It sounds easier than it really
Yeah.
was. I think for me personally, like I said, I was one of four, and I was the last. My siblings, unfortunately, didn't follow the same path that I did. They're doing well now, but I'm the first to go to college, and therefore the first to then go on and get my master's degree, and who knows what will be next for me beyond that.
Running for something, maybe?
No, I get asked that. I've been suggested that a number of times.
You know, it's kind of like you see something, you see it in you, you know, it has to come from you, right? No?
No. I don't see myself in that way.
Okay.
But definitely am the type of person that lends myself to be a servant leader and happy to step into leadership if it's called for me. But not something that I'm looking to pursue. But anyways, back to your other question, because that one makes me nervous. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily the easiest journey. When you're first to go to college, you have absolutely no understanding of the process. I definitely had to find my resources. And again, growing up in an immigrant family where you're sitting down and talking bills at age 8, you have a very different sense of growing up very quickly. And so I learned to be resourceful very fast. So it wasn't that it was easy. I just learned to be resourceful really quickly. And I hated school, actually. I did very well. I knew how to play the game, but I disliked it. I never felt a connection to my learning, which is really ironic that I'm now working at an institution of higher education. But I never felt like it was engaging. There weren't stories that related to me and my own experiences.
Correct.
I didn't feel that my questions around the issues that I was surrounding myself around, specifically with my family and understanding issues around stereotype and prejudice and being poor, that wasn't part of my educational journey incorporated in any sort of way. So it was challenging. My siblings are the immediate examples of 3 people that I had around me that didn't make their journey because of how difficult that might have been for them. I was probably one of the few graduating my class that I still stay in touch with that went on to college and have done other things. I think people see Cambridge and they're like, oh, wealthy, the wealthy Republic of Cambridge. But I think in the time that I was growing up, there was definitely a different side of Cambridge where it was a little harder for some folks to get through. So definitely have had my own set of personal experiences and didn't have many models around me who had gone beyond high school or had even graduated high school.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you say that because when I was going there myself, I felt, and it's nice to finally identify with someone who went through that.
Yeah.
I felt the same way. I couldn't find a place that I could go and get the support I was looking for that I needed. I found it in media.
Yeah.
I found it actually going to, you know, the media department, and my thing was a voice. I was just trying to voice opinions and thoughts and ideas and suggestions, and they would just, well, bring whatever you have, bring your ideas, bring your suggestions, write something about it, and, you know, let us take it for granted. But it wasn't like I could sit somewhere in a group or discuss it in class, because it really wasn't what we were talking about, what we were facing. It was more about the subject or the content of the class itself.
Yeah.
So I can say, and then I would, you know, as the campus at that time was still, and it always will be, and it just continues to get larger, I would just get lost in the building to then just find an excuse or a meaning to kind of discover things, where I was, why I was in this department, who I was asking for. But in reality, I was searching.
Yeah.
I was searching, and I couldn't find it until obviously I would get to class, and then by then it was like it'd be back to the subjects again.
Yeah.
But it's great you brought that out, because, you know, I've never shared that with anybody.
Yeah. Well, that's why for at least us at UMass Boston, integrating community engagement and community partnership work in our courses and in our teaching is really important, because part of it's hands-on experience. It's connecting real time to what you're learning in the classroom. And it's, you know, there's national research that supports that students who have that sort of engagement are more likely to persist and then graduate. So it's very pivotal for us to make sure that urban mission that I talked about earlier is being seen in everything that it is that we do, including, like I said, our research, our teaching. And since you've been at UMass Boston, there's all these learning communities at UMass Boston and freshmen. academies, for lack of a better way of describing them, in our different colleges in order to create that network of support for students. And we have a lot of college access programs also coming out of our student support services side of the house that really work closely with Boston Public Schools, Chelsea, Cambridge, and a number of other areas to provide students with those supports that we didn't have when we were going through this process.
And what made you kind of want to go and kept you in UMass Boston, where you were in Cambridge? You had Cambridge College and Harvard and all those other universities around there. What was it? What was the connection that made you just want to stay in Boston and do it in Boston?
Yeah. Well, for me, like I said, it's the urban public mission. I said I've always wanted to be a bridge and connector. I've made my choices around career based on a value around social justice and wanting to be part of that equation of change. Positive social change. And so for me, a university like UMass Boston offers something very unique and different than other institutions. I'm a product of private higher ed institutions. I went to Northeastern University for undergrad and Tufts for my grad. But what UMass has to offer is very unique. And I don't think you can find that in other institutions across the city. I feel it every day when I walk through the hallways and I see the diversity of students that go through our campus. I see it in every conversation that I have with our faculty and different deans across the university. Folks are there because they want to be there, they believe in the mission. And if you're a mission-oriented person like myself, then it was not a question that I wanted to go to UMass Boston above any other institution.
So what's next for Cynthia?
What's next for Cynthia?
I mean, you have your hands full, that's for sure.
I do. Office of Community Partnerships is the university-wide serving office. Right now, I'm focused on rebuilding the office, as you mentioned earlier. Yes. I am newer to the institution, and so for me, I have my sights set on making as many connections as I can in the next couple of months with community stakeholders, partners from different types of sectors. I'm open to meeting with anyone that wants to talk with me about where they see areas of opportunity and need across the city, and where there might be opportunities for future collaboration. That's sort of my short-term sight. I think in the long term, there's a lot of opportunity at UMass Boston to continue strengthening our relationship in this city and across, like I said, global and at a national scale as well. So I really think that I can play a role in helping build more strategic relationships and thinking about how we have high impact cross-sector collaborations that really speak to our value and our strength at UMass Boston. That's it for now.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking out loud that a lot of great people that are endeared today in politics and grassroots organizing have come out of UMass. That are today in offices where today, they're running our city and our schools and so forth. It's a really great university.
Yeah.
And one of the great things that the Chandler's doing, it's amazing. I like the connections that they're doing.
Yeah, we have a lot of leaders across the city of Boston that are products from UMass Boston. I think it would be an exercise to try to tally up every single person that we know that's currently leading something across the city that's had some time with us at the university. But Chancellor Motley continues to be very connected to this city. He actually created the Office of Community Partnerships just 6 years ago, which is a huge testament to him wanting to really institutionalize the way that we do this work.
Okay. Well, Cynthia, if there's more projects coming down the road, which I'm sure they are, we'll be happy to invite you back and tell us more about it. But great interview.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's Common Ground. Please stay tuned as we're coming up next week and the following weeks for more guests and more interesting topics. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Fernandito Hosa, sitting in today for Sheriff Steve W. Thompson.